Well, hey everybody, it's Romania Black, and yeah, I couldn't wait. I did wait a little bit for comments, like I said last week, but when your episode ends with Hina showing up like that, what are you supposed to do? You're just supposed to wait? No. I was like, I need to know now. What is happening? What is going on with our girl? And so, yes, I'm very intrigued and excited to see what's going on, but I'm very worried for poor Hina if she's been being bullied. And my hope is that Ray finds a way to talk to her and talk her through it, because we've been building Ray's character up to get stronger and stronger and feel more confident in himself, and this would be a chance for him to kind of we've seen him take on a caretaker role with Shimada, and so now would be a good time to take on a friendly, encouraging role with Hina. So I think that would be very important. I'm really excited for it to happen. But before we get down to brass tacks with that, we need to talk about a few things. One, I want to point out the end card that as soon as I was editing, I was like, I forgot to talk about the end card for episode 25. I was just so excited and so amped up. So the end card is actually really cool. So we'll talk about here. The end card for episode 25 is this right here, which this is actually really interesting to me. The illustrator for it is Kinshi Yonezu. And it looks really good. I like, it has this superimposed Ray over the top of Hina. I like them both kind of merging together, which shows that they both have had similar experiences maybe with bullying, which we'll talk about in this episode to come. But the thing that's interesting about them is that they are an illustrator, but they're not necessarily known for their manga. They're more known for their singing. They are actually the singer for the song Get Back, which is the OP for Chainsaw Man. And I was like, oh, because I looked them up. I was like, well, who is Kinshi Yonezu? And then I was like, oh, he's the singer for Get Back? What? I love Get Back. So I was like, that's so wild to me. Or Kickback. Sorry, Kickback. I'm thinking of the Beatles song Get Back. But Kickback, which is the OP for Chainsaw Man. I was like, oh, cool. They can draw. Nice. So yeah, I thought that was really interesting, and they've done OPs for a lot of other series as well. They have a pretty big discography, so I thought that was really interesting. I like the fact that we got them to illustrate this end card, and they draw Hina and Ray really well. But yeah, so I thought that was really cool. Wanted to make note of that. I'll try not to forget the end card this time around. The other things I have note are that if you go on the Discord, you'll probably have to scroll way up to try to find, or search for it now, because we've had a lot of conversations since then. But Shimuyama, who's a patron over on Patreon, they shared not only that there is human shogi, but there's also car shogi. And I was like, car shogi? And yeah, they shared pictures and a video on Discord of car shogi, which sounds so much fun. I absolutely love it. But yeah, I thought that was really, really cool. So thank you for introducing car shogi. I'm just obsessed. I love it. And then the final comment I have is from Fosu8499, and they noted back in episode 22 on YouTube that there's a fun fact. The mangaka Umeno Chika said in an interview that she doesn't want Sangatsu, or March Comes In Like a Lion, to be adapted if it's not done by Studio Shaft or Akiyuki Shinbo. So here's an excerpt from that interview. Starting very modestly, aren't we? Shinbo says, these are just my thoughts, you see. And the mangaka says, I also really raised the bar with my comment and announcement. The comment in question was, I really, really love Shinbo Kantoku's Bakemonogatari, Madoka Magica, and Arakawa Under the Bridge, and Setsubo Sensei. So I thought, I want it to be done by Shinbo Kantoku and Shaft. If this dream couldn't be granted, then it didn't need to be adapted. And so I'm very happy. I would like to do my best in supporting and helping the anime adaptation. It was certainly a comment with a lot of impact. But with that, I was worried that I may have driven the staff at Shaft into a corner. I thought that Shinbo-san or Shaft may be troubled by my comment instead. So yeah, she puts a lot of pressure being like, I'm not going to have this series be adapted unless it's by you all. And I love that she said it was because of those series. Now, I've watched Madoka Magica on this channel, but the other series I do eventually want to get to, especially after seeing Shaft's animation style. It's just so good. So I do hope that they eventually do a season 3. I hope that no pressure, right? But I hope they eventually get to it. So that would be really nice. But yeah, I think that's pretty high praise when a mangaka is like, I want this studio to do it. And I want this director to be in charge of it. Like that's really high praise when that mangaka personally picks them out and says, you're the ones to do it, right? Because most mangaka, they would just, I assume, as an author, be happy with any studio picking it up, being like, oh, you want to make an anime adaptation of my work? Oh, absolutely. But the fact that she was like, no, it has to be you. That's like, that is some balls. And I give the woman mad respect for being like, nope, this is what I want. And I won't settle for anything else. And I'm like, hell yes. So that's really exciting. But yeah, so I'm pretty excited to dive into this episode this week and see what we get. I hope you all are too. I've talked for nearly 6 minutes, so I feel like we've spent enough time. But I hope you all enjoy this reaction of episode 26 of March Comes In Like a Lion. But we're not going to waste any more time. We are going to dive right in, and we are going to do that. Let me get myself set up, get it all ready to go. And we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Oh, Hina. Like crows cawing. Oh, sweetheart. And that feeling of going home knowing it's going to be an issue, that they're going to ask about it. As Momo and them are still drooling over it. Aww. Oh. Oh, and Ray being like, oh. 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 And her just instantly hugging her. Oh, this is going to be one of those episodes, isn't it? It's going to be one of those episodes. Damn it. I'm like trying not to cry with her squalling in the doorway. This is going to be one of those episodes. Damn it. Ah. I cannot get over how much I really like this OP. The rainbows, the color, the animation. It's all so beautiful. Yes. And him running to try to grab that feeling. That like feeling of home, that feeling of comfort. Someone commented that Ray is 17 and 18 and Hina is 13 or 14, which makes sense with her being in middle school and him being in high school. Ladybug Bush, part 2. Mm-hmm. Oh, so they weren't with their normal groups. Oh. Oh. So it wasn't originally her at first. Middle school girls be bitches. Mm. Oh, so they've known each other before. Oh. Oh, I love that. Of a nameless anxiety. Ugh. Probably because they were jealous of her. Oh. Of course, yeah. Yeah, Hina was too nice. Oh. Oh, her just being nice. Like just being a friend to these, and these bitches can't stand it because they're too jealous and ugly inside. Oh. Oh. No, they're making you do it. Yeah. Oh. That's really sad. Mm. Damn that silence. But it escalated. So this isn't anything new. This has been going on for a while. Oh. Oh my God. So it just kept getting worse. Oh my God. Oh. Oh my God. Oh. Oh. Oh my God. Oh. And she just left. Oh. Oh. This is the saddest episode. Oh my God, this is so sad. And of course, they're going to try to ostracize Hina next. Ugh. Oh, Hina, girl. Oh. Oh. Of course, she's going to get mad about it. Oh, shit, girl. Oh. I thought she'd just tell her off, but... And now they're gonna bully her. Oh my god. Yep. Oh. 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 Oh my god. Oh. Oh, and she's more worried about not being able to help her than... Oh, this is so sad. Ah. Oh. 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 Oh, Ray, come on now. Oh, Ray. Oh. Oh my gosh, and like it being pitch black outside. And the black and white. Oh. And this is kind of paralleling season 1 a little bit, where she ran and she was crying, right? It's a little bit like that scene. Oh, damn it. Oh. Oh, oh shit. Oh. Oh. Yeah. Oh. 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 Oh, Ray, tell her she won't be alone. Yeah. Oh. Yeah. Oh. 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 Oh my god. Oh. Ah. Yeah, connect back to that. I was waiting for that. Yes, you guys save each other. A storm from a different direction. Oh. 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 Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh. Oh. Oh my heart. Oh. 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 We go make it a library date. Yeah. They're so small. I know that feeling. Yeah, yes. Yeah, that's such a feeling. Oh. 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 Yeah, research my ass. Well, the ladybug. They're Japanese beetles, right? Oh. 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 They always go up to the end of the finger. Yeah. It keeps climbing up. Yeah. Mm. Yeah. Oh. Oh my god. Ah. Oh. 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 Right. Yeah. Think. Oh. Oh. Mm. Mm-hmm. Oh. Oh, the grandfather. Oh my God. Oh. 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 Well, this is gonna be the episode where I just sob. Oh. Oh my goodness. I can't speak. Oh. Oh. If you can't say anything, all you can do is support her. Oh. Yeah. Oh, you totally have grandfather's approval. You totally have his approval. All of her favorites, yeah. Oh. Oh. For something I could do. Well, when I sat down to watch this episode, I did not think I would be sobbing my eyes out for 20 minutes. Oh my God. It is going to be a trial to talk about this show for this week without sobbing. Oh my God. It's going to be a lot. Oh. Oh. Yeah, I officially ship them hardcore now, Ray and Hina. For sure. Absolutely ship them. Oh. 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 Oh my God. Like, oh my God, there's just so much. I am just, I'm gonna need to get myself together. I'm gonna need to gather myself for this next episode. Oh my God. Yeah, there's gonna need. Have you ever needed to have like a really good cry? Oh my God. Oh, I had to gather myself after this episode, and I don't know how long the discussion for this week is actually going to be, because there are so many parts of this episode that are just, they're really hard to talk about because of how relatable they are. And it's just, I feel like I want to like type out my thoughts and then just have like a Microsoft Sam speak them out, because there's so many parts of this that are just really visceral and really relatable. And I'm officially shipping Ray and Hina. Like, they are a ship to me. Absolutely. And not like a ship like I want them to do things right now. No, she's in middle school, he's in high school. They're still too young. But like, I want the epilogue of this series to be them getting together. I want the epilogue of this series when Ray and Hina are adults, for them to be a couple and for them to get married and for him to be in the house with the family and all of that. That's what I want. I want that. Because I think Hina is everything that's so good for Ray. Like, he calls her his lifesaver, and we're going to get to that point in the episode, but like, she is so many things that he needs. Like, she validates a lot of the feelings that he has. Like, her courage and what she has gives him courage, and she validates a lot of the feelings that he's had as well throughout this series so far. And she like inspires him. He's like, I want to do good for her, but I don't know what to do. And so she creates this sense of like him trying to be introspective and figure out like, well, what do I need to do? How do I pay her back? Like, well, how can I help her? And she does so many good things, and she's such a good person. She has such a good heart and this courageous heart. And the grandpa speech just like tore me up, because it's just so good. So yeah, I just, I feel like that episode of Violet Evergarden I watched where I like couldn't speak. It was like, just like, you just want to cry with them. Oh my gosh. And just sob your eyes out. I'm glad I didn't put any makeup on today. I was like, you know what? I'm just going to wear my glasses and go with it, because it would just all be a mess. I was just like, I just threw my glasses on this morning. I was like, I'm not gonna put makeup on, you know. I'm glad I didn't, because otherwise it'd be like raccoon eyes and like just dripping mascara, and just everything about this episode, the emotionality of it, like, the emotion, the grandfather's speech was like, it just cut to my heart. Like, he did what Ray wanted to do. Ray was trying to figure out like what to say to her in that moment, but he still struggles to, she's given him courage, but he's struggling to find out how to articulate that. And then the grandpa was just like, good for you. Stand up for what you believe in. Like, it's better to stand up alone than to follow the masses and be wrong, and I loved his speech so much to her. And like, it just got everybody crying in this episode, right? Just everybody. So we go through this episode. But the story of Hina's friend, like the story of Hina's friend getting ostracized because she's a nice person, and because these pretty bitches, they're just jealous, or they're envious of her, or they don't know what to do with her. It's like, I want to do like, what's the line from Twin Peaks? My friend has it tattooed on their body. It's like, fix your hearts or die. Is the song, is the quote from Twin Peaks. It's fix your hearts or die. And that's literally what I want to tell these girls. I'm like, ugh. And we talked about it last week, that just middle school and the hormones of middle school are just, there's such a hard time for so many people. And I can definitely relate to Chiho and to Hina, right? And just trying to do the right thing, and then getting ostracized by it. And it's so frustrating, right? Because so often it's the loudest voices are not necessarily the correct voices, right? The loudest people in the room are often the ones that aren't in the right, and they're not morally in the right, but they're so loud and they're so aggressive and they're so vicious that people are afraid to stand up and take them on. And it's just so frustrating because you see that it's the wrong thing, but nobody's standing up and saying what needs to be said. And so I hardcore relate to Hina in this episode, because it is hard when you want to point something out and you're like, nobody's talking about this. Why aren't we saying stuff about this? And the response is just so visceral that you feel like you're just going in circles, or that you're going to be the next one targeted, right? And nobody wants to be targeted, so that's why they're not standing up. What kind of took me out of all of it was the teacher. That the teacher wouldn't reprimand them. And I was like, oh my God. Like, the teacher was just like, that was probably the worst part of all that made me the most frustrated, was like, girls, you know, for whatever reason, like teenagers, preteens, and this isn't just girls necessarily, but preteens can be petty, right? They can be petty. And they're going through emotions and they don't know how to rationalize things. And maybe something bad at home is making them act a certain way towards someone else and they're projecting it on them. You never know, right? You never know what that other person is going through. So it's easy for us to get really mad at these girls because they're being petty and horrible. We don't know their circumstance. We're just seeing this from Chiho and Hina's perspective. But they're kids and they go through that, and that's just part of growing up, and it sucks. And I'm glad that Hina stood by her morals and was, you know, strong and courageous, because she gave that girl Chiho some hope, and I hope that they stay in contact with one another, because she may need that. And we'll talk about her moving away here in a little bit. But, you know, what made me so mad was that the teacher, who is the adult in the room, who should be the one, like the grandfather, espousing some, you know, some wisdom and some encouragement and trying to diffuse the situation, she didn't do jack shit. She just let it keep going. And I'm like, they're kids. What are you afraid of? Like, they're not gonna, you're the teacher. They're not gonna ostracize you. You're the teacher. And so, but then you don't know, like, are these girls in the classroom, are their parents on the school board? Are their parents influential people in town? Is the teacher afraid that just like their kid, their parents are just as bad? And it's just like, it's like a genetic learned situation. And so you just don't know, but it was so frustrating that I'm like, the teacher who should be like, as a teacher, I was pissed. As a teacher, I was like, you should not act this way. This is not how you handle that situation at all. And I just, like, the teachers, I'm like, why are these Japanese anime teachers incompetent, damn it? I was thinking back to Jujutsu Kaisen. In that series, there's a scenario of bullying in season 1. And in that case, the teacher, again, is cowardly and doesn't do anything. And I'm like, are these Japanese teachers not standing up and doing their job? Where's Kuroko Sensei from Assassination Classroom? Where is he? Where's Sensei? We need him. He would get the job done. Where's Kuroko Sensei? We need him. We need him to be up in this, and then we'd get some things. Teach Hina and Chiho to become assassins. That's what we need. But this episode was so visceral and real, because I think all of us watching, I assume, if you're not relating to Chiho or Hina, then I hate to tell you this, but you may be the girls in the classroom. If you can't relate to any of the experiences of Hina or Chiho, you may be the bullies. Or maybe you're the other people in the classroom. I'm not saying you're the bullies if you don't relate to Hina or Chiho, but you may be the other students in the classroom that aren't aware that this happens. I don't know. But I felt, because it seems like Chiho's only, usually the kind-hearted people are easier to target when they're younger, because they don't want to be aggressive. So if you're not aggressive, you're not putting up a defense against those bullies. You just either ignore them or you go along with it thinking that it'll stop. But as we find out with Chiyo's case, it doesn't stop. And you keep enabling them further and further. And finally, Hina finally snaps. And what I thought was going to happen was that Hina was going to yell at the girl in PE and yell at her and be like, you're being a bitch. You're being awful. And I don't think Hina would say the word bitch. But I felt like in the PE class, Hina was letting it all boil up inside of her. And she was just going to lash out and be like, you're the reason she left, because you're being a horrible, ugly person. And I thought that's where it was going. But Hina just, And I think that's where Ray can relate to her, because Ray understands that, like, you just get so frustrated, you lash out, and she's a preteen girl, and that's how she responds to it, because she's like, you know, I think it also makes a difference that her and Chiho were friends from an early age. So she knew Chiho, she knew how great of a person she was. So seeing her be bullied had a bigger effect on Hina because she'd known her for a lot longer than these other students were. I could see a lot of her classmates being like, well, just leave her alone. And she's like, but no, I've known her. We're friends. And I can't just do that, because Hina's so kind-hearted. And the thing that I kept thinking of throughout most of this was, and I know you all will be like, really? But I kept thinking how, you know, Kyoko would have been one of the petty teenage girls that were bullying. That would have been Kyoko, and Hina's on the opposite end of it. So I'm wondering if Kyoko does challenge Ray again and Hina's around, if Hina will stand up to Kyoko, because now she's had this experience with the bullies from her own school, if she'll translate that to a later experience. And I don't know, we may get that, we may not, but it's, whenever Hina says, you know, since the second year of middle school, I've hated it, it's like, yeah, things change. People start to develop into these dynamics, and the third year's beginning, their entrance exams are looming. I like that they called it a nameless anxiety. Everyone was in the grip of a nameless anxiety. And that's not an excuse for the bullying, but it does help to explain how it was kind of just getting out of hand, is that there was all of these other factors on top of that, and it just made a bad circumstance even worse. It doesn't justify it, but it makes it to where that's part of the atmosphere, that it just does not make it conducive for good things happening, right? And it always seems like the people that are, you know, handling the anxiety, like Chiho, she doesn't seem as bothered by it. The people who aren't handling the anxiety as a coping mechanism, they just bully others to just project some of that tension off themselves onto others. But that's not right. That's not what you should do, right? And so they said she was flirting with boys. They called her like a goody-goody in front of the teacher. They're just typical bullying things that ostracize her from the group, and no one would stand up to her, which just makes, you know, it all the worse. And then Hina's the only one that's kind because of their history, and then she gets targeted next. And the part that was just so sad was when Hina's like, you know, why are you doing this? Why are you taking everyone else's clothes home? That's not right. And she's like, oh no, I volunteered to do it. And she's like, well, we should tell the teacher. And she's like, no, you'll just make it worse. And Hina's like, oh my God, like, there's nothing she can do. And kind of this powerlessness that she feels is something that Ray can relate to, because Ray has experienced this same feeling of powerlessness. But he's like, you know, Hina invalidating his feelings and showing him that he's not alone in feeling this way. She saved his life, and he wants to make that up to her. And the thing about it is, I'm like telling Ray, like, well, Ray, just be there for her. All you have to do is be there for her. Be there for her, stand up for her, help validate her like she validated you. That's all she needs. You don't need to do anything else. You just need to be there for her and be support. And I feel like Ray's like, well, I want to do something more than that, but he doesn't need to. But the fact that he wants to do more for her, it speaks so much. And just the bullying stuff is so awful. And the teacher that just is as petty as them and doesn't help matters. Oh, I hate it. And I love, Shaft does such a good job of animating this whole segment, like making everyone in black and white that turns a blind eye, and Hina's the only one in color alongside Chiho. Like, it's just so sad. And then Chiho leaves. Now, the part about her, you know, Chiho feeling afraid, being like, well, what if I go to this new school and it's more of the same, and I don't have someone like you there to help me? Like, that's so sad. And I would hope that maybe if she goes to another school and gets away from these petty bitches, that things will get better for her. And sometimes that does happen. You just need to leave a bad, toxic environment and go somewhere better. But there is that pressure of, what if it's not better, right? What if it's worse? And it reminded me, I probably have mentioned this in either this series or a previous series, but I had a student that was on a team I coached, this last year, and they worked at this really bad place. Like the stories they would tell about where they worked, I'm like, you should get a different job. You should leave that place. That seems like a toxic work environment. I don't know if I'd stay there. And I kept being like, well, maybe you could apply somewhere else and do other things. And what he told me was, he's like, well, what if where I go next is worse than this? And I'm like, well, that's a risk, but you don't know until you try, right? And it just, in that moment, it's like, just sometimes you get this toxic mindset, and it just kind of taints everything, where you feel like nothing you do is going to be better if you change. So you just kind of settle for being in this toxic environment because you don't think anything could be better than that. It's like, oh, that's not a good mindset to have. It's like, So, like, I hope that for Chiho, it's better. I hope that she goes somewhere where she can start a clean slate and it's better, right? But I also hope that Hina keeps in touch with her so that she can make sure that she knows she's not alone, and she can write to her or text her or something where she knows that she has a friend if she needs her, and that she's there for her, because Hina's just a kind and caring person. And it's really hard because I feel like, high school and junior high is so, I think a lot of people have bad experiences there, because if you get in an environment where there's people that you can't, if you feel ostracized, you're kind of trapped in high school, right? And I was fortunate enough in high school, even though I was bullied a lot, but I had like 2 or 3 friends that I could always hang out with, that we all were nice to each other. So whenever there was like other bullies or other bitches there, you could just ignore them and focus on your friends. But if you don't have that friend circle, then you feel kind of stuck and trapped, and like you just don't have anywhere to go. And I always tell high school students, because I used to work with a lot of them, I'm like, just 4 years seems like a long time, but just stick it out. Because once you get out of high school, then there's this freedom of, you can go. I always felt like college for me was my favorite time, because in college, you're not bound to like the same group of people following you for 4 years. In college, yeah, you're going to have the same group of people in your major, but you're also going to have other classes where you meet other people. You meet people from different majors that you can hang out with. You are not bound to this social restriction of, oh, I'm only going to stick with these 20 people for the rest of my 4-year career. No, you can branch out and meet people from all over who have different interests than you, that have the same interests as you, but you find, we always tell students, you find your tribe, you find your people that you relate to, that you connect with, that you have similarities with, and those are your real friends. Those become the friends that you, like, I'm still friends. I probably have like 5 people from high school I'm really friends with, that I've kept up that relationship with, but I have so many more that I've met through college that I'm connected to on a so much deeper level. And that's just because you find those people that you really, really relate to and connect with. And so I usually tell students when because I work in a college, and I'm like, once you get here, you'll find people that you really connect with. And if you felt like high school was a bad experience, then college will probably be a much more liberating experience, because you'll find people you really connect with. And those are your friends you're going to keep, and those relationships you're going to maintain long after this. So yeah, high school can be a very isolating and stifling period for a lot of people. I didn't necessarily have a bad high school experience, not like Hina and Chiho, but there were bullies, and there were people that were bitches, and they were so hard to deal with. And yeah, and so Hina being like, I'm going to have the same experience, and worrying about that. And of course, what student wouldn't be, what person wouldn't be feeling horrible about the idea that she was going to be targeted like them. And I feel like Akari's really quiet during a lot of this, because I don't think Akari can relate in the same way, right? I feel like Akari might have had a better high school experience, or a different high school experience, where she didn't get bullied at all, and she didn't experience that same thing. So I like that Akari doesn't try to patronize her sister and say, oh, well, I understand. Like, Akari's just hears her out, because Akari probably doesn't know any way she can relate, right? And Ray going after Hina makes much more sense, because Ray can relate to Hina in ways that Akari cannot. And this whole segment was just heartbreaking. Like, if you didn't cry in this episode, I don't know what to tell you, but I don't know. I like the cats are looking to Ray too, being like, what you gonna do? And then she runs off and Ray runs after her. And it felt very much like volume one when Hina ran off to cry because she just needed to get out of the house and into some fresh air, and Ray following her. Like that whole sequence, I was like, okay, Ray, now you catch up to her, what are you gonna do? And she's like, school was so fun until the second year. I wanted to go every day. And she's like, but Chio was so stressed with everything. Why did everyone pretend like they didn't see anything? Or if you protect her, you'll be the next target. And it turned out just as they said they would. Oh. And then she's like, I'm going to be all alone. And I love that she's like, I'm going to be all alone and I'm going to be targeted and bullied and I hate it. And she's like, but what I did was definitely not wrong. Like I did the right thing. Ah. Oh. And that just like cut to my core. Cut to my core. And Ray in that moment is like, yeah, you're right. You didn't do anything wrong. And I feel like Ray's been feeling that way for the longest time with a lot of different emotions he's been carrying and with different thoughts he's had. He's like, I'm not wrong in what I believe. And so he's been struggling to understand why others have been ostracizing him because of it and why Kyoko ostracizes him and why he's not felt, included at home. He's like, I'm not wrong in my beliefs and my feelings. And she kind of validates him in this moment by having this conviction being like, I don't regret what I did, but it sucks because it's going to like isolate me from the group. And it's so relatable, right? It's so relatable. And just him in that moment and the light shining behind her is like, I saw her declare through her sobs and I felt I was struck by lightning. Yeah. Like she has this own storm within her that is like an adjacent storm. And like, I feel like Hina and Kyoko have had two different storms brewing inside of them. And whereas Kyoko's storm is so toxic and self-loathing, and she's just projecting her own insecurities onto others, and it's a storm in itself, then you have Hina, who is this storm that is just filled with conviction and courage and just this frustration that she's like, I don't get why people are like this. And that's the storm. Like Ray has been trying to connect to Kyoko's storm, but it's not clicking because they're not the same people. And he just has been like manipulated by her into thinking they're the same people, but then he sees Hina and they are the same people, and he finally connects to that storm. He's like, you're the same storm that I am, not this one, but yours, and I can connect to that. And when him getting down on one knee and reaching for her hand is like a damn proposal. It really is. And I know they're too young for anything like that, but this promise that he gives her and like him taking her hand, I was like, if y'all don't come back to this bench in 10 years and do this same thing over again when you're like, or it doesn't have to be 10 years. It can be 5 years from now, 6 years from now. But if you don't come back to this damn bench and do this same thing, I will be disappointed. And he's like, even after so much time had passed, he's like, all those feelings that I had that were the same, he's like, her feelings connected to his and they saved him, coming in like a storm from a completely different direction. Yeah. And she doesn't even realize that she's saved him. And he's like, Hina, you're a lifesaver. Oh, and he tells her, thank you. I love that he actually says it to her. He's like, you're my lifesaver. And he's like, and I promise that I'll stay with you. Oh, he's like, no matter what happens, no matter how people are, he's like, even if it takes the rest of my life, I will pay you back. Yep. I need him to propose to her like this and say, I'm going to keep paying you back. Trying to pay you back for that day. I need that to happen. I just need to file this away and you need to come back to this bridge, to this moment. You need to do that, Ray. You've got it all set up. It's right here. It is. It's like a proposal. But yeah, just him being like, you saved me. And honestly, that's the best thing for Hina, is for her to know that no matter what shit goes on at school, she has a support network when she comes home. And that's such a privilege, because so many people, they deal with that shit in the workplace or at school, and then they come home and they don't have that support network. And oh, it just makes you so emotional, because you get to see that she has that with Ray. I'm like, Ray, you're never leaving the sisters. You're stuck there forever now. That's just what's going to happen, right? And so then I like the next day, Ray, in his own quiet way, tries to cheer her up. Like, Ray doesn't know exactly what to do. But like, when does Ray go to the library, right? When does he go to the library? And he's like, I've got to do research. I'm like, you have shogi books at home. What are you even doing? And what's amazing is he doesn't even research shogi in this episode. Shogi is not even present in this episode at all. Not needed. Instead, he researches the ladybug bush, because that's what brings him back to his childhood memory. So him taking her to the library is like an act of cheering her up. And I like that they just walk there in silence, like it's quiet, and the library's quiet. It's like this sanctuary to heal after being around all this noise of all the bullies. It's just like this quiet little sanctuary, and Ray knows what makes him feel better, and he takes her there. And that conversation about the table and the chairs and them being so small, and seeing her and Chio there, as soon as she looked at the kindergarten table, I was like, I've had that same thought in my head. And all those waves of nostalgia, just like, it just emotionally cut to my core. Because I used to substitute teach before I got a job where I'm working now. And I would substitute teach grade school. And I would think that too. It'd be like, we were so little. And at the time, when you're a kid, you don't realize how small things are. And then when you go back and look back at it as an adult, you realize how limited your worldview was. And that now you look back and you see it through a much bigger lens. And that just keeps getting bigger. That lens gets bigger the older you get. And so it was just a really emotional moment of her talking about the table and understanding, like, when things were so simple. And now as the world gets bigger and it opens up more, it also creates more opportunities for there to be hardships like this. And when Ray brings her just the book of sweets to like cheer her up, and that's what he was doing, just trying to cheer her up and make her feel better, like, my heart. And then he looks at the little bush, and then when he realizes, he's like, I always thought that it was a ladybug bush, but it actually has been for this other thing. So the concept of when you think something represents some part of your life, but then you find out a little bit more information and it changes that perspective. Oh, it just, the meaning of this moment is so good. And then the fact that it's so romantic. He like shows her the little bug. He's like, look, here's what the ladybug does. And he like shows it to her. It's so romantic and cute. And then it's like the bugs always fly to the end of your finger and they go towards the sun. That's why it's called the heavenly path insect. And then just them flying towards the sun. And the idea of her gripping his sleeve and crying. What I loved about this moment was that I love inside, like, Ray's just standing there, not shedding an emotion, because he wants to make this her moment where she can be emotional and get all that emotion out. And he's not trying to like take any thunder from her. But then you see inside how Shaft animates it, like, just like he's just completely enraged and just distraught and just torn up for her sake. And he's like, just watching her cry is like tearing him apart. And that rage that he feels, he's like, I wanted to hunt down anybody who made her cry and tear them limb from limb. I was like, all right, okay. I'm like, yes, please. I was like, all right, Guts. I was like, yes, that is exactly like how you want to feel for someone you care about, is that you want to like just basically stop anybody that's making them feel bad and just tear them apart. I could see why Miura and Chico got along and why he kind of envied her storytelling here, because it's so beautiful. Like, yeah, he's like, but it wouldn't benefit her. I love that line. He's like, I want to tear them apart limb from limb. Anybody that made her feel bad. He's like, but that wouldn't solve the problem. That wouldn't do anything. It wouldn't benefit Hina. It wouldn't end the problem at all. he's like, I've got to think, what can I do? What can I do to make it up to her? What can I do to make it better? Hurting the people that hurt her is just going to create a cycle that's not going to help anyone. So what can I do to make her feel better? And I feel like just the act of him thinking is in itself helping. The fact that he cares and he's trying so hard. And then that moment when you're about to go in, like when you've had a really bad day and you've just bared your soul, like the next day is kind of awkward because you're like, are people going to think less of me? How's that going to work? And then just the fact that the sister and Momo are so kind and show so much grace to her. And they made all her favorite foods. Oh, that moment was just so beautiful. I loved that so much. And then the grandpa's there. And it's like Akari welcomes them all in. She's like, oh, you went to the library. That's so great. Ha, ha, ha. And then the grandpa's, it's like they all knew this conversation was coming. And the grandpa was waiting for her to get home to speak about it. And then the grandpa's speech is just him being so loud and just, you did good. And just, you were courageous. And I like that when bully students speak up, the teacher responses are, don't rock the boat, and the bullies click their tongue. Yeah, but I like the grandpa's like, when you don't speak up, then those bullied kids often, they commit suicide or they hurt themselves or things get worse. And he's like, it's horrible seeing that. And he's like, I don't have a place to take any action, right? But you do. You're in that school and you had the courage to stand up and try to do something good. And he's like, my job is to praise you for it because that's what I can do to help support you. And so he's like, there needs to be more people like you, Hina. You tried to help your friend out of a scary situation and not many adults could have done that. You didn't do a single thing wrong and you helped your friend. And just everyone sitting there like watching the grandpa just say this, they're all just like, what else can we say? And he's like, be proud of yourself. And then just the animation, the way that it animates Momo like going towards her and crying, and Ray like kind of sits half sitting, half standing, not knowing exactly what to do. Like he wants to reach out and he's kind of like held himself back because he doesn't know if it's proper in this moment. And then Akari being, well, like, let's just eat. Let's wipe our tears and eat and have a dinner. And of course, Akari becomes the mom in that moment and like wipes Hina and Momo's tears. And then they eat her favorite food and everything. And then they just have this meal as a family. And I love the grandfather telling Ray, thank you for going after Hina, and slaps him on the back. Like the grandpa has accepted Ray into the home. The grandpa has accepted if Ray marries Hina, he's accepted it already. He's like, nope, we're great. You just keep doing that. Hina can have her little confectionery shop. Ray can be a professional shogi player. Oh, they can all be happy together. But Ray is like, I like that Ray looks over at her and he like, his eyes are red where he's been crying too. And he's like, as I chewed, I searched my brain for something I could do. Oh, it's so good. Damn it. This episode's so good. I'm like, Ray, I'm hopeful Ray will figure out what he wants to do to help her. But I'm like, for now, all you have to do is just be yourself and be supportive of her. And that's all she needs. We're good. We're great. God, this episode was like such a cathartic experience. Oh, what else can I say? It was peak March again and again. Season 2 has been just like so good. Season 2 has not missed. Like season 1 hasn't missed, but season 2 has been like even more than season 1. So, anyway. Anyway, I'm curious to hear your thoughts down below. But this was a cry that I needed for sure. And we'll just see where it takes us, won't we? So in any case, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah, I'll be back next week with episode 27 of March Comes In Like a Lion. Bye. Gonna need to gather. Oh, holy cow. Well, oh boy.